Alright, let's get started. Our unit was on personal health, and we tried to focus on both physical and mental. Our first lesson is going to be on water, which we learned about in the last one. What I kind of have them do is I have them calculate, based on their weight, how many ounces of water per day that they need. There's a lot of different ways to calculate that, but I found that this was the best way to do it with a large group of people. Then we go through just a short little PowerPoint that just talks about why you need water, what some of the signs are for dehydration, as well as how to incorporate a lot more water in your diet, things like eating watermelon, just little things. Then we divide them into groups, and they have different articles because they learned how important water is, so we kind of want them to look at the fact that we have a problem with water depletion. So we kind of give them some tips for things that they can do at home to conserve water and things like that.
Stress management, we're just going to start out with seeing if they know what stress is. And there's like a lot of different types of stress. And so to figure that out, we'll split them up into 6 groups, and they'll have like the posters on the wall, and they write some ideas of what causes it and how to deal with it. And they'll rotate and each kind of add to each other's different topics. And then at the end, using the posters, they'll do sort of like a role play activity where they'll set up like a stress-inducing situation and kind of figure out how to get through it. The time management is another big issue. The anticipatory set, because we set this up for 8th grade, so we're going to ask them what the rigors of high school are like, and see if they know that a big part of it has to do with managing your time. And we'll have students keep track of what they do for 3 days. Let students keep track of what they do for 3 days to see where their time actually goes. What am I doing? Discuss with students their goals when it comes to grades in their classes to show that there is a big connection to time, and sometimes students don't necessarily get that. And a big part is just figuring out how to manage your time. There's usually enough time in the day, just figuring out how to dovetail it together. Time management continues. We are going to, there's 4 different kind of things that you break it down to. Long-term plan, like goals, kind of getting it through, I guess, a school career. Student planner, just having them figure out how to use that. It seems pretty simple, but it's not usually, especially for students. And then working homework and study time into their daily schedule, or weekly schedule for school, that needs to be in there, so just figure out a time that works best to get that in there. And a daily checklist, so that's what we have the lesson on, teaching them how to do those 4 things. And the assessment would be for the formal assessment would be to have them turn in their 3-day time worksheets to see what they actually did in a day. Eating properly, part 1. The objective is to have them understand good eating habits. To do this, we're going to have them write down what they eat in a day, like being pretty specific, because that matters too. And then we're going to have them compare that to government, the USDA recommendations. They have that like pyramid thing, so have them work with that after they've written down what they eat a day, so they're not like trying to play the system. And then have them write a brief reflection for an assessment about what they should change in their daily habits, trying to not necessarily to hash out a whole new plan, but maybe just a few ways. Because like cutting out a can of pop a day, you lose like 10 pounds in a year. It's pretty ridiculous how quickly little things add up. And part 2 for this, we're going to bring in a guest speaker from Eastern here. He does this for a living. He does one thing called portion size me, which is a big thing that everybody really, but especially adolescents, don't necessarily know about. Eating, I mean, if you eat an apple a day is great. If you eat 30 apples, you're probably going to get diabetes. So it's like, even healthy food needs to be moderated along with fast food. Because you can't eat McDonald's, you just don't have to get the double quarter pounder every single day. So we have a guest speaker for.
Alright, tying into that lesson, we're going to talk about some of the dangers of junk food. And kind of, we have a video that we're going to show you later, so you know about that. But then we have them kind of discover the amount of calories that are in the normal junk food that they eat. Things like Pringles, a can of Pops, and popcorn, things of that sort. Just sort of make them realize just how many calories they're consuming. And we also sort of have them brainstorm, healthier snack alternatives. Like you don't have to just eat carrots. You can have a little ranch dressing with the carrots, and that's still healthy as long as you don't like guzzle the ranch dressing. Then we also talk about vending machines because there's so many vending machines in schools, and they eat in those so often. And we talk about some of the healthier alternatives like the trail mix, the pretzels, things of that they can find in vending machines. And then I just do like a short little PowerPoint on tips for them when they're eating at a restaurant, things like portion control, stay away from cream sauces, get a salad instead of French fries, stay away from things that are fried, things like that. And then we sort of have them keep a food journal for 3 days. We next talk about sleep, and we start with a think, pair, share activity where I sort of lead in with questions to think about what they do every day that affects how they sleep at night. Do you nap? How long do you nap for? What do you do right before you go to bed? Do you have loud music playing while you're trying to sleep? That type of thing. So that they can sort of reflect on their own activities. And then we do a PowerPoint that sort of has a lot of myth busters to it, or I give them a statement and they, as a class, decide if they think that it's true or they think that it's false. And those are just things like how much sleep you should get every night, that type of thing. And then for guided practice, I give them a worksheet that has a person describing their own sleep routine, and as a group they have to pick out some of the bad things that the person does and make suggestions on how they can better capitalize on their sleeping every night. Next we kind of segue into exercise, and for an anticipatory set, we have them, as soon as they get in the classroom, calculate their resting heart rate. And then we have them just do a short activity, just jumping jacks for a minute, and then take their pulse and see how just 1 minute of activity can make a big difference in that. And then we kind of just discuss why exercise is important, and then we have them go through different stations, which is kind of what these guys were talking about with their stations. One of them has the benefits of exercise that they read a little bit about. Then the next one just has little exercises that you can do. They're sort of like strength training you can do in your everyday living room. There's also a thing about stretching, and the importance of stretching and different stretches that they can use. And then there's a station about yoga, some introductory yoga activities. And then as a wrap up, we just talk about ways that they can exercise every day, just simple things like take your dog for a walk, things like that. And then, with exercise, we've got concerns with their safety. So we kind of wanted to cover that and just brainstorming ideas of dangers of exercising and just, saying everything has a flip side to it. Exercise is great, but you can't overdo it, things like that. And then we do a jigsaw classroom where they read articles about steroid use, weight loss supplements, and exercise bulimia, which is when you exercise to the extreme amount.
And then reading nutritional labels, which is a big part. We started the class off by asking them what the students, if they know what the FDA is and then what it does, because they might not in 8th grade, and that's the FDA is the one who controls food labels. The objectives of the lesson are to understand how to read a food label, and then kind of distinguishing between what like the legal requirements are on there and then what's advertising, and then how that, even some of the legal ones can be misleading. And for this lesson, we have a Chicago Tribune article that investigated this. So we'll split them up in a jigsaw, and they'll look at their different parts. It was a really big, like a watchdog article. So we'll split the article up, and they can investigate that. And if we can schedule some lab time, that would be great, because we'd have them kind of check those facts, maybe look a little more into it. And then the assessment, which didn't show up, would be to, it's in the wrong spot, would be to share their findings with the class. On the Tribune article and then also on the internet to see how to actually interpret nutritional labels.
And then our assessment was just for them to pick one of these 3 things. Either they could keep a sleep journal for a few days and try to incorporate some things they learned about in class, how to get more sleep. The other one was to do an exercise plan to just map out your everyday, how you're going to get the recommended amount of exercise every day.
And the time management one was from that lesson about time management. For a unit assessment, they could do a more comprehensive rescheduling of how they would reschedule their actual day, put a little more effort into it, explain what they would change and why they would change it, things like that.
And then we're going to do a short little video that we would have done during the junk food.
This morning on today's Mom Snack Overload, a recent study found that kids are munching more than ever, and a whopping 27% of their daily overall calories is coming from junk food. So what's all about that? Sugar and salt and fat. What's that doing for children? Was that really balanced nutrition, nutrition inhibitor, and also the mother of three, by the way.
Right.
Joy, good morning.
Good morning.
So why are kids snacking so much?
Oh my gosh, because snack food is everywhere. And we're not talking about non-fat yogurts and fresh fruit. We're talking about the carby, starchy, fatty, sugary snacks. They're at schools, in the vending machines, they're at the sports field. Sometimes they're in our cars, they're in our homes. We just keep offering kids snacks, and they're programmed to chronically graze all day long.
27%, that's a pretty high percentage. So what's that doing to our kids?
Well, it's obviously setting them up for weight gain. It's causing havoc on their mood and their energy. But I think most importantly, it's making them less interested in real food when mealtime rolls around.
So it's the reason why they don't want to eat when they sit down.
And we don't let them get hungry.
Okay, so let's take a look at the graphic of a 9-year-old boy. Let's call him Joey.
Joey, and so I'm going to show you the amount of snacks that he eats. Now remember, this is up and beyond his 3 meals. So he's eating breakfast, and now in the AM he has some pretzels. Then he has lunch, and then at some point before he gets home, he has a few cookies. Okay, then he comes home, and maybe he has a play date, and you offer him a fruit drink and some chips. Then with dinner, after dinner, he has a popsicle. And then before he goes to bed, he wants another snack. He has a sugary bowl of cereal with some milk. This is 1,130 calories just coming from snacks. And if you look at the amount in sugar equivalent, it's about 24 packets of added sugar and 9 teaspoons of butter worth of fat. And that looks like an extraordinary amount of snacks, but there are so many viewers out there that could relate to exactly what Joey was eating.
This really actually can be one of the reasons why we have such chocolate obesity problem in this country.
Absolutely. And you're not getting any nutrition from these snack foods.
Okay, so parents need some advice when it comes to this.
Right.
What's your best?
So basically, we would show them this clip. The rest of the video talks about healthier alternatives for that child. So we would just go and at that point talk about how many calories are in things like soda, Snickers bar, that type of thing. And then that's when they would brainstorm healthier alternatives for snacking.